So motherfuckers, today I'm going to show us a very interesting idea against the French defense, who helped Nice Grandelius to advance to the next round of the World Cup against the team Macron. So let's see the game. Okay, e4, e6, that's the French defense. d4, d5, e5. Now that's the advanced variation. Here there are many ways to play, or knight c3, knight d2, e takes d5, that's the other move, but okay, e5 was fine. Now c5, that's the typical breakthrough of black. Now, more or less to explain us a little bit this position. Now, white is going to try to attack in the king side, and black is going to develop the pieces in the king side, in the queen side, sorry. c3, knight c6, knight f3, queen b6, until here everything is normal. And now, very interesting move of Grandelius, bishop d3, just sacrificing the d4 pawn. Pawn takes, now of course, I can take here and knight d4 is not possible because bishop b5, so it's not a real pawn sacrifice, but the real pawn sacrifice came now with sword castle. That's a full pawn sacrifice. Because of course, black can take here and white just should play for the compensation. But the principal idea is that here, first, white have more development, white have three pieces developed, and the e5 pawn is going to be so strong to attack. So because it's covering the 6 square, and this means that here black have no good place to put the king because in long castle the c5 is open, so it looks so scary. And if you go short castle, bishop a7, knight g5, queen g5, queen e5 ideas are coming. So the position is so dangerous for black just because he have no a clear way to just basically to place the king. So, okay, he is still developing the pieces, bishop d7, but Grandelius is still without take the d4 pawn. He say, okay, I didn't want your pawn. Rook e1, take on c3, knight g7, h4, very good move, taking space in the king side, a6, knight d2, he is still developing the pieces, and now, in the right moment, Tion Macro take on c3, very good idea because he wait until the knight goes to d2 to take on c3 because if you take early, now the knight can develop to c3. But he has white that the knight goes to e2 to finally take on c3 and obligate white to recapture with the b pawn. But the recapture with the b pawn is not bad because now white have ideas of break on c4. So take with recapture with b is not a problem. Knight g6, knight b3. He returned with the queen to c7 because the queen now is misplaced on b6. At the first moment, the queen is great there because it's attacking d4. But now that the d4 pawn disappear and now the weak black the weak white pawn is the e5 pawn. So now the queen returns to c7 to attack the pawn. Now queen e2 just defending the e5 pawn. f6 trying to yes to fight in the center. So a move like bishop e7 doesn't work because just knight h5 is so annoying. So black should play with powerful with f6. Takes, open the file, and now rook b1. And okay, until here both players are playing so great. And here came the first mistake of Etienne Bacrot. But it's because I think that the white position is more pleasant to play. The machine says that the position is more or less equal, but I think that the white position is more pleasant because okay, this is sorry, I go to the e5 is open, the e5 is open. So white have both rooks in the open file, black have both rooks in the initial square. So this bishop is great here, this bishop is great, this pawn is coming to h5, the e6 pawn is weak, and the huge problem of black position is that he has not a clear square to place the king. And apart, the other problem is that c4 is coming. So here he played 95. I think that his idea was just stop c4, the knight on e5, stop the cover the c4 square. But was stronger just to develop the bishop, and if c4, who is the idea of white in this position, just play short castle. This can look so scary in a game, of course, but okay, the machine is different like this. Bishop e3, rook f7, yes, to defend h7, and now the other rook can come, but very good move rook f7, knight bd2, coming with pieces to the attack, rook e8, takes, and knight d4, and okay, the position is equal. And that's what happens if white tries to take with c4, but here we have another interesting idea with knight bd4, knight e5, takes, queen h7, h5, and now let's see that the king is going to e7. By the way, it's more or less well defended by his central pawns. So here with black, you should place the king in the center because In the king side, you haven't pawns here, and in the queen side, it's going to be so weak because the rook is attacking b7 and c4 open everything. So here, king 7, that's a fine move, apart is second. So bishop f1, playing with the rook, f4, queen c3, bishop b3. Now black have 2 pawns up and the position is still being equal. Bishop c5, rook c1, and finally black can sacrifice a queen to maintain the equal. So that the position is equal, but of course it is so complicated to understand. But Etienne Macron, instead of develop the bishop, he has played knight g5 with the idea of stop the breakthrough c4 by black. But the problem of that is just after take and knight and queen h5 with check, and black is in some troubles. Um, King d8 was stronger. He just tried to cover with knight f7, but he have no time to make all of this just after knight d4 where white is winning. Was stronger just to move the king to d8, but okay, here bishop f4, pinning the knight, or just keeping the bishop on f1. Like I say in all the videos, the bishop on f1 is a great piece because defend the king side and attack the queen side. So king knight f5, f7 a bad move. Now knight d4. If here comes the first small inaccuracy of Grandelius, he played knight f5, who is winning too, but bishop f5 here was stronger. But okay, knight f5 is fine. Bishop e6, bishop e3, long castle, bishop b6, queen 7. And here Grandelius take the rook. Okay, he's still winning after take the rook, but it's not necessary. He could just play c4 and yes, try to open the position. For example, d takes and now bishop e4. This could be stronger than just take the rook. You can take the rook when you want. So, and if he moves, for example, rook e1, if white is just winning. So, take the rook is not necessary, but okay. After bishop d8, he still be winning. But looks like the bishop on b6 is a strong piece than the rook on d8. Take knight 93, going back. Here, rook e1 was stronger, queen 2. Here the problem, okay, e4 was a possibility, but here white can take, and queen b5. And here white is winning, rook e8. Again, rook d1 was all the time strong. Just to the idea of rook d1 all the time is avoid d4. The problem now is that now black is active. That's the problem. When you are attacking so much and you take material, sometimes the terms change. Um, Now black is the player who have the initiative, and now I have extra material. Because let's see that yes, Grandelli focus the game in a very active way, giving material to have an active position. But now, later in the move 22, he changed his mind and he stopped to play active. He has a completely winning position. If I put the machine, then you're going to see that the machine say that white have plus 6. So white is completely winning. But all because he was playing only to play active and activate his pieces, and not without think about take material. And just in the moment that he start to take material, his position start to be worse and worse. Now let's see that black is the player who have all his pieces active, and white is more passive. All because he take the rook on the 8. And now after bishop e6, bishop e3, interesting tactic. Here, rook b7 was the best way to play. Knight here, rook b1. But all the time, he should just play active. Bishop c5, take, queen b5, and reach this position who is equal. Uh, yeah, sorry, rook b7 is a draw, sorry. Or queen e3 is to play. But bishop b5, and now black is better. Queen g7, f take, bishop e3, and just black is completely winning here. Rook b2, bishop takes, queen f2. And here black makes another mistake because okay, yeah, black is winning here. He should play 96, just uh, improving the last piece that he have that place. The queen, okay, you can take here with the queen, but just queen f7 or queen f8. I taking your queen. I prefer queen f8 because here the queen is coming to c5 in some lines. So, but okay, here 96 was the winning move. He played bishop f3, which is a mistake. Now the position turned into equal again, and now Black's made the last mistake again. He should just improve the knight, but he is still playing with the knight bad place on f7, and now queen d6 lost because just bishop b2 and trade these pieces, and now the knight have no time to get into the game. For example, if you play knight f7 here instead of queen d6, we have no time to make all of this because, okay, for example, here you have take, I don't know how to do here. Yes, you can take first and later came with the knight to, yeah, knight h6 here. Or knight h6 clearly, I think it's possible. But that's why I usually just play with the knight. No, you cannot play with the knight on the 8. So queen d6, bishop e2, bishop takes, rook takes, and just white leave the pin, and this extra exchange, and white is just winning. So, and yes, white finally wins the game. It was more or less fast. But all the time was about the initiative against material. When they start playing so good, giving material to take the initiative, and he reached a winning position because yes, he just focused on into play active, and in the move 22 he forget about the activity and he again thinks about material, and this when Etienne Bacrot finally reached a good position, and yes, and Bacrot finally be winning here, but he failed because he doesn't just game with the knight, who is the last piece that he has. Yes, bad place. So very instructive game about, okay, first the idea of the pawn sacrificing the friends, but later it's very interesting to understand that you should play active instead of just take material. So I hope that you enjoy the game, and let's see how continue the World Cup. It has been amazing. Bye bye, my fuckers.